Alex Murdaugh, A Tale of Wealth, Scandal, and Murder. Hello everyone. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we have a crime story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Get ready because we are going to dive into a mixing world of wealth, scandal, and murder surrounding none other than Alex Murdaugh. There was this really big trial in South Carolina called the State of South Carolina v. Richard Alexander Murdaugh. It was about Alex Murdaugh, who used to be a lawyer. He was accused of killing his wife, Maggie, and their 22-year-old son, Paul, on June 7, 2021. Even though Murdaugh said he didn't do it, he got sentenced to 2 life sentences in a row, which means he'll never get out of prison. People in the area called this trial the trial of the century. It was one of the most famous and talked about cases in South Carolina's history. So, now let's dig into the full story. On June 7, 2021, Alex called Maggie and asked her to meet him at the Murdaugh family lodge. He wanted them to go together to visit his dad, Randolph Murdaugh, who was very sick. But Maggie thought something was suspicious and texted a friend about it. When she arrived at the lodge and parked her car, she went to the dog kennels and found her son, Paul. Later that night, at 10:06 p.m., Alex called the police from his phone. He told them that he found his wife, Maggie, who was 52 years old, and their younger son, Paul, who was 22 years old, dead near the dog kennels at the hunting lodge in Islandton, South Carolina. It was a terrible scene. Both of them had been shot multiple times in different places like their heads, wrists, and chests. Alex said he was with his mom, who has dementia, when the killings happened. But the police found evidence, like cell phone data and a video with Alex's voice, that showed he was actually at the scene before they were killed. What do you think happened during the investigation and the indictment? In October 2021, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, assumed that Alex might have something to do with these murders. They had been thinking this since the very beginning of the investigation. The defense attorney for Murdaugh, who was on trial, didn't like how the investigation was done. He said that when the police went to the crime scene, it was raining and they didn't do a good job collecting evidence. They even let family members and friends walk around the crime scene. In July 2022, Murdaugh was arrested. The Colleton County Grand Jury said he was guilty of 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of having a weapon while doing a violent crime. He supposedly used a rifle to shoot his wife, Maggie, and a shotgun to shoot his son, Paul. But Murdaugh did not accept the criticism. The prosecutors believed thoroughly that Alex was definitely the murderer and wanted him to spend his whole life in prison without any chance of getting out. They didn't want to give him the death penalty, though. Now let's talk about the proof of evidence. The trial of Murdaugh started on January 25, 2023, in Walterboro, South Carolina. The prosecution and defense presented their opening statements, with Murdaugh being represented by Harputlian and Jim Griffin. The cases were overseen by Clifton Newman, while Creighton Waters led the prosecuting team. The defense argued against questions about Murdaugh's financial crimes, but the judge allowed the testimony. 2 jurors were replaced due to COVID-19, and a new charge for passing contraband was filed. The jury visited the murder scene at the defense's request. Closing arguments were made on March 1, with the jury beginning deliberations on March 2. Now let's move to the judgment and the order. On March 2, 2023, the jury decided that Murdaugh was guilty of 2 murders and having weapons during a violent crime. It only took them 3 hours to make this decision. Since a lot of people were interested in the case, the verdict was shown live on TV all over the country. After the verdict, the defense asked for a mistrial, but the judge said there was too much evidence against Murdaugh. The judge told the jury that all the evidence pointed to the same conclusion, and they made the right decision based on the law and facts. On March 3, 2023, at 10:08 a.m., Murdaugh was given 2 life sentences without the chance of parole. He was taken to a prison in Columbia, South Carolina, where he would be evaluated for about 45 days to decide which high-security prison he would go to. Do you have any idea what happened after the trial? Once the trial was over, the people who were trying to prove that the person was guilty held a press conference. On the other hand, the people who were defending the person who was found guilty also talked to the media the next day. One of the lawyers for the defense, named Jim Griffin, said that the Murdaugh family was really supportive of him. But then, in an interview, the older brother of the person who was found guilty, named Randy, said that he believed his brother wasn't telling the whole truth about what he knew about the crimes. On March 9th, the lawyers for the person who was found guilty filed a notice of appeal with a special court in South Carolina. On March 21st, a news channel named CNN and some other media outlets reported that there was going to be an auction. This auction was going to sell things that belonged to the Murdaugh family. It was held by a company called Liberty Auction, which is based in Georgia. Lastly, on May 24th, the U.S. Attorney's Office in South Carolina made an announcement. They said that a group of people called a grand jury had decided to charge the person who was found guilty with a bunch of crimes. These crimes included things like money laundering, wire fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. It's a lot of serious charges. So, this is the end of this crime story. If you find this interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it with others. Don't forget to leave us a comment as well. Until next time, stay safe.